Hello, everyone. This is Lewis. I know normally I have like this intro speech that would normally include in the beginning of each podcast. This isn't going to be one of those days, and for good reason. Today, I thought it would be really important to talk about a topic that is never pleasant to talk about, but I feel it really needs to be talked about more often amongst families, especially. And that's the topic of suicide. And then to have an honest conversation about it. While I probably spent a little over 3 years studying every school shooting in the United States from 1990 to 2020. And during that time, I noticed that a lot of news agencies that cover school shooting statistics, they don't include suicides where somebody just shot themselves on a school campus, but nobody else. They only include what they call active shooter events, where they're just randomly, shooting people, and then maybe sometimes they kill themselves, and sometimes they don't. I feel that's a terrible mistake to not include just suicides because, in a way, I feel like it just washes away, those kinds of incidences, and it forces us to not think about perhaps the greatest cause of most school shootings, which is mental health and emotional mastery. Those are just my opinions based on my research. You're welcome to argue them with, the merits with me. But I feel that these statistics should be included because the elements are still the same. Someone brought a firearm to school, a school campus, a school event, and the firearm was discharged and somebody was killed or injured. And the reason why I'm talking about this particular topic is because yesterday was October 31st, Halloween, and I received a phone call from my nephew. My nephew lives in Missouri, and he started the conversation with, "Are you sitting down?" And that's never a way you want to hear a conversation start. I was like, "Oh my God, what happened?" And told me that my sister killed herself. I'm like, "Oh my God," and in one instance, I'm asking. I have so many questions in my mind at that moment. But at the same time, I'm trying to be sensitive and mindful of what this poor kid is going through, my nephew, what his father must be going through. So I'm trying not to pepper him with too many questions. I just appreciate that he called me just to tell me. And turns out she shot herself in the head. It was her day off. She was home alone. She didn't leave a note. And I had no idea that she was going through so much pain at that time. I mean, we would text each other from time to time, maybe once a month. And the last time we communicated, I mean, one of the last times that we communicated, she said that she was going to see a counselor about some personal issues she was going through, that involved our parents. But I had no idea that I don't know if, even to right now, I don't know if that's the reason why she killed herself or if there was something else. I mean, her only child, my nephew, just recently got married around a year ago or so, and he now has a baby on the way. So she was about to become a grandmother. And to my knowledge, she was happy at her job. Things seemed to be going great in her relationship. I had no reason to suspect that she was in a dark place. I mean, but then again, my sister was always she was a very private person. She was a very strong willed person. And I imagine if adults struggle with these kinds of emotions, how much more so do kids and teenagers who are experiencing these type of emotions maybe for the first time, and it just feels so overwhelming, you know. Um, I mean, even adults, sometimes we just need a little guidance, somebody who has a different perspective, somebody that can just tell us everything's going to be okay. Somebody's just going to be there and hold us if necessary. I just still trying to deal through it. And I'm trying to be there for my family. But another situation is I wanted to bring up a few years ago, my best friend went through a really bad divorce, and it made him go to a very dark place, and he wanted his life to end, and he owned lots of guns. Oh my gosh, he still owns a lot of guns, and thankfully, we lived close to him, and I was able to, be there for him. And I can't tell you how many nights, either on the phone or in person, that we just talked for hours, just letting him know it's going to be okay, and that he had so much more to live for, including and especially his kids. And little by little, I think that finally, sunk in. And his guns, he had his brother hold on to them and lock them away in a safe. And I made sure that his brother would not allow him to have access to us while he was going through this emotional trauma. And in a course of 6 months, he lost 50 pounds just from stress. 50 pounds from stress. I mean, I've never known anyone to lose that much stress, lose that much weight just from stress. I mean, he was married for 15 years. Um, he has 2 kids, and I mean, this is something that you would never expect. And so thankfully, he's alive today, and he's doing well, and he's in a good place. He has a good job. He's, good relationships around him. Um, I imagine, how things could have been differently if I could have been there for my sister during her, dark time. And that's something, if you're in that dark place, first of all, get help. Just there's yeah, there's suicide hotlines, and I know there's like this stigma, especially when it comes to men. I don't know what this stupid machismo attitude is, where they feel like, well, you don't want to appear weak, kind of thing, just because if you get help, or people are going to think you're psycho and stuff. Well, people don't have to know that you're getting help, but please, by all means, get help. I mean, at the very least, if you can't afford one, or if you don't feel comfortable talking to a counselor, find people that care about you. Maybe you don't have any family members that are supportive or understanding. Maybe you just need a friend, just one friend that you can talk to. Please reach out to them. Can't encourage that enough. I mean, even today, at least once a week, I still check on my best friend just to make sure, he's all right. My wife, she introduced me to this song recently. Is called Only a Season by Fearless Soul and Rachel Schroeder. I hope I'm pronouncing her last name properly. But the lyrics, they begin with, "A bad day isn't a bad life. It's okay, you're going to do just fine. When you feel like fighting the world and nothing is going right, remind yourself, it'll be all right." And, I get it. Sometimes it's so easy to get stuck in that dark place. It feels like you're suffocating. There's no way out, and it's terrifying. But that's exactly when you need to reach out to someone who can help you and see that light again. Someone that has a different perspective, because I don't know if any of you, listen to or read Tony Robbins. I mean, he's very big on emphasizing, whatever it is that you're focusing on tends to expand. And if you have a hard time focusing on something that's positive, something that you're grateful for, to be able to look back to see how far you've come along, sometimes it helps to have that other person who has a different perspective to help you see things in some light, when you're going through all that darkness. Remind yourself, it's okay to feel sad. It's okay to cry. I think I've cried at least 10 times today. Recognize it, call it out. You know what? I'm feeling sad. I'm feeling angry. I feel like crap. Recognize that it's just a feeling. It's gonna eventually pass. It's just like a season. You don't have to let it conquer you. They say that the spring always comes after the winter. We're going to see the sun again, and things will get better. My wife and I, we just recently moved here to Virginia back in January from Florida, and heck of a time to move to Virginia is January, because there was a snow flurry the day we arrived, and when we got here, it was nighttime, no lights on the highway. very little visibility, and my wife had barely even seen snow, much less driven in it. So, we had to take it real slow, and sometimes I had to talk her through it on the phone. But we made it to our hotel, and eventually our apartment, you know. And now, winter is just around the corner. And, now that we've been through it and we know what to expect, now it doesn't seem so terrifying. Now we know we can get through it, and that eventually spring's gonna come back, and then the fall. I mean, I don't know if how many of you are in the northern, northeastern eastern part of the United States, but, fall is absolutely beautiful up here with the changing of the leaves and the colors and stuff. I think it's my favorite season now. But, again, every year that winter's gonna come, and if you know how to get through it, it doesn't seem so terrifying, and sometimes you just need somebody who has that experience to help you get through it. In Florida, we don't have, you know, raging, terrible winters, but we have hurricanes, and, if you've never been through one, it can be pretty terrifying, especially when you're in it, and you don't know how to prepare. But, if you just talk to your neighbors, the ones that have been there, multiple times, they tell you how to prepare, and then every time one comes, it doesn't seem so terrifying. So the same is true with emotions. It's painful, it's terrifying, and it really sucks while you're going through it. But reach out to people to care about you, and if you can, please, to professional counselors. It's only a season, and it's going to pass. And I would like to end this podcast by saying the things I haven't said to my sister in a little while. I just want to tell you, Michelle, I love you. I miss you very much, and I wish I could have been there for you, your darkest moment. For those of you that might be listening or watching, please hug your loved ones today. Tell them that you love them, and take care of yourselves. Thank you.